And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Alright, today we're talking about Dragon Rampage. You are one of a group of adventurers who is fighting together a dragon. And the winner is going to be, well, we're not sure because there's 3 different ways that you can this game can end, which is pretty neat. So before we jump into that, let's look at how the game works, and then we'll get to it. Now in this game, each player is a band, is part of a band of adventurers, and they have a token for their character that they're going to be playing, and they put them here, and they're fighting this dragon. Alright, now what's really interesting about this game, I guess I'm going to jump right into it here, is that the game can end in 3 different ways. The game can end if the dragon is killed, and then points are given out based on the dragon being killed, and usually the player who's done the most damage to the dragon has a good chance of winning. The game can end with somebody escaping from the dragon. So they run along this path until they get out in a short game or a longer game over here. And the player who gets out first has a good chance of winning. And then the third thing that can happen is if someone gets killed. In which case, I mean, that's possible. In which case, then the player who's not killed has a good chance of winning. So there's 3 different things going on. And there's actually points based on which victory condition happens. But those are one of the 3 ways. Now, each player has a card here that shows their character. It shows me hit points they have, has a spot for their deck of cards, and then explains the different phases of the game. And so there's all different ones here for different characters. Now, these characters are very differentiated because not only do they have these boards, but each character comes with their own personalized deck. And one of the things I like about this deck is that at the very beginning of the game, you are allowed to pick one of these cards and put it in your hand, and then you draw 2 other cards. So you're always going to start with one card that you want. And these cards are neat because they're 2-leveled. The top level you can always play. Well, most of the cards are 2-leveled. The bottom level is a more powerful effect, but it costs, like for example, this one costs 2 gold bags. This one costs 1 gold bag. This one costs 4 to play. And so you have different cards that you can play over the course of the game. Now, the way the game works is this. You're going to be featuring using these 7 dice. And you're going to be playing kind of a Yahtzee-style game on your turn. The dice are similar, but some of them have different sides than the others. You'll notice that some of them have different borders around them. That doesn't matter much, except sometimes there's some cards that will affect certain types of dice. So one might affect this die, one might affect these 3 dice, etc. But what you're going to do is you're going to roll these dice. Now, when you roll these dice, so here's my first roll, and I look and I say, okay, I rolled 3 dragons. Once you roll a dragon, it can never be re-rolled, so that's not too good. And then I've rolled these 4 other symbols, and I want to keep this one here, and I'm going to re-roll the other 3. It's just like Yahtzee. I get multiple re-rolls. I rolled 2 shields. I'm going to keep that one, and I'm going to keep this wild. And I'm going to make this wild the same as this. So I have 2 towers, 3 dragons, and 2 stealing gold tiles. Now, as I roll these, I could have re-rolled a 3rd time, but once I'm done re-rolling them, I'm going to mark the numbers up here on the board. And turn order actually does matter to some degree, but I'm going to take tiles. So for example, I got 2 on the stealing treasure, I got 3 on the dragon, and then I got a 2 on the shields. And everyone else then is going to be playing these. And so lots of these are going to be put down from the different players, depending on what they've rolled as the game goes by. Everyone gets their turn, and they're going to put these down, depending on what they've rolled over the course of the game, or over the course of the round. After that, once everyone has rolled dice and done that, then we start at the top and work our way down. But before we start, we put all these in order from highest to lowest, and in some cases, whoever's the lowest isn't going to even get to take an action for that type. The top one is defense. The person at top's not going to take, the highest one here is not going to take any damage from the dragon attack this turn. Then the second and the third highest will heal some wounds. Here, the dragon is going to attack everybody. First, you draw a card from this dragon rage pile. And depending on how many hits the dragon has on him, Depends on how he attacks. Like here, he just attacks everybody, all the odd spaces. Here, he attacks the slowest hero. And it tells you how much damage each of them does. Each of these cards does. Then after that, the dragon will hit the people who have the highest numbers for additional damage. And damage is tracked using these markers here. And the third thing here is stealing treasure. And you can take gold, and gold is measured over here. Gold can be worth points. Whoever has the most gold at the end of the game is going to probably get points. And gold can also be used to play some of the more powerful cards. Then there's treasure. There's a whole deck of treasure cards, and some players are going to get to take cards from the treasure, which can either be played to give a player a special ability, get an extra die roll each turn, or at the end of the game can be worth points for you. This one's worth 3 points. And so there's lots of treasures. Then you can attack the dragon. When you attack the dragon, you will re-roll the dice again, and the highest person gets to re-roll them twice. That next person re-rolls once. And when you roll, if you roll dragons, the dragon's going to hit you. But if you roll swords, shields, or wilds, you're going to hit the dragon. And depending on how many rolls you roll, you might get 1 or 2 hits that you put on the dragon space here. You put them there of your color to show that you've done so many hits on the dragon. If the dragon takes a certain amount of hits, which is equal to 5 times the number of players in the game, so let's say in a 4-player game, 20 hits will kill the dragon. And then finally down here, whoever has the highest number on here gets a chance to roll a special runaway die, where they'll roll this number, and they have a chance to move that far on the track. That, remember, I said someone might be able to run away, but the space that they stop on might give them a free attack on the dragon, a treasure, and lets them draw an extra card, etc. I haven't gone over every rule of the game, but that is basically the way the game works, and I have to say this card is really nice at looking. You know, for example, you can see here the runaway phase. When we look at this on the board, you can see that it tells you the highest rating rolls the run die and adds 1 to the movement. The second highest rating rolls the run die and moves. The third highest rating moves 1 space. And it tells you what each of these does. And then it tells you what each of the spaces on the board. And they're very convenient, nice boards. But there is going to be interaction here because players are going to be jostling each other for position. Going first is helpful because if there's a tie in numbers, then you win that tie. But at the same time, everyone sees what you're going for, and they might have a chance to roll higher than you or knock you from that position. So once again, the game ends when either the dragon dies, a player dies, or a player escapes. And then the points are calculated depending on what happened, and whoever has the most points win. Treasure and the most money and wounds in the dragon always count, but there's also other ways to get points. I'm just going to start out here by saying that I really enjoy this game. It is neat. It is yet another Yahtzee-style game, but this one you are directly competing with other people's rolls. You roll and then you put it down, you know, the chips where you want, but you're trying to beat other people's chips. I also really like the 3 different endings. You can run away, you can fight the dragon, you can, and someone can die. And so that's just interesting in how the points are different for each one. What did you think?
I thought it was really fun. When I played it against some other kids, there was this one kid in particular. He played the mage, and he was a scaredy cat. He kept on running every single game that we played, and it was a lot of fun. Me being the rogue, stealing from other people. At first, I thought it was a whole team game, just all together, like we worked together. Until I started seeing that you're, like when I first saw the card that says cutting the purse, stealing from the other players, I'm like, maybe this isn't so much like a team game. But it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, the people do cheer when you hit the dragon, but they wish they were the ones hitting the dragon. I think there's a lot of neat things. I like the fact that the cards for each character are different. Those cards are very useful, very handy, especially when used in the right time. I like how you can pick one to start the game with. The game box here says 13 and older and 90 minutes to 120 minutes. I think that's kind of incorrect. I think this game can be played with 10 and older, because I played it with a lot of 11 and 12-year-olds, and they easily got into it. In fact, they all were dying to play it again. And 90 to 120 minutes seems awfully long. I think this game is closer to an hour to 90 minutes, probably. 90 minutes being long. Because once you know what you're doing, you roll, 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 boom, your turn, roll, 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 and it's just very interesting. Then we see what happens. Aha, the dragon took some hits, you took some hits, you run. The running strategy will seem stronger initially because one person can run and they can run really fast if they want to and get away. However, if someone else beats them out, they can run shorter distances and they will get benefits from that and still fight the dragon. The artwork and graphic design, it's okay. It could be better. The board is a little crowded. I mean, I think the artwork is cool, but it's not always easy to figure out what's going on. Yeah, I don't know. But the gameplay itself, this is one of my favorite dice games I think I've ever played. I'm a big fan of it. And you?
I love it.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find the latest board game news at Dicetowernews.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Fun Again Games, the world's best game source. Fun Again Games has over 5,000 games available. Check them out at funagain.com.